Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today we'll be going over some general steps for updating our rooted Pixel devices to the latest version of Android using the factory images provided by Google. Now obviously you'll have the bootloader already unlocked and your phone probably rooted, and this is a good way of updating regardless of what you have done to your phone, as some system modifications or even installing TWRP may render your phone unable to take the OTA updates using the built-in OTA mechanism. So this is a great way to update, and it also gives you the factory images to use as you please later on. I'll be using a Pixel 3 for this video, but if you have any of the previous generations of Pixels, both in the larger size or the smaller size, this video should work just as well for you. You can also jump forward to the latest factory image without having to update incrementally, since these images include the full system. So when updating from December to February, you don't need to flash the January update. And you might want to copy over important files to your computer as well. I've had some issues with restoring backups made in TWRP, but you can always try and make a TWRP backup before updating as well. Now if you have the Active Edge mod for the Pixel 2 or Pixel 3, created by J to the 4N, you will need to disable it or remove it before updating, as it does replace a system framework file for it to inject the mods into it. And you can see this was last updated on the 9th of January, so about a month ago. He does release updates every month, and you should find an update for it pretty much on the day of the factory image, or at least a couple days after, in case he's a little bit busy. But for safety and before you update, especially if he hasn't pushed up a new update for the February security update, then you want to disable the module inside Magisk Manager before updating. So you do that under Modules, find the Active Edge mod module, and uncheck the tick box that is next to it, and then you can go ahead with the update process. Now the same also applies for any substratum overlays that you might have. It's also very important that you either disable them or remove them before updating, just in case one of your system overlays is incompatible with the new system app that it's trying to theme, so that's also something to keep in mind as well. The next thing is to set up the SDK platform tools. So that's just ADB and fastboot, those executables that you use to communicate with your phone and to control your phone as well. I do have a video on this for those on Windows if you want to set up the platform tools so you don't have to always open a command prompt in the same directory as those tools. So if you want to be able to use fastboot and ADB anywhere you please, then you can definitely check out that video. Otherwise, I'll be going through a quick way of just opening up the command prompt window in the appropriate directory, so the platform tools, to use ADB and fastboot temporarily in a sense. So if you can't or you don't want to set up the SDK platform tools on Windows by adding it to the path environment variable, you can just go ahead and download the latest version of the SDK platform tools here for Windows or whichever operating system you're going to be using this on. And you just need to read and agree with the terms and conditions, and then click on the blue download link here. And just save everything into one folder while you're at it. So once you have that all sorted out, you want to go over to the Google developers website and take a look at their factory images. Now on the right hand side, you can view the contents of the page, and you can quickly jump to the device that you have. So in this case, I'll be jumping to Blue Line for Pixel 3, but if you have any of the other Pixel models, then you'll want to select the appropriate Pixel image. So I'm going to be clicking on Blue Line here, and you can scroll down to the end of the table, and that'll give you the latest factory image. Now, in some cases, you might have two factory images for a particular month, such as this one. The December security update has one for everyone else, so a generic one, and then one for those on Docomo, a Japanese telecommunications carrier. So if you're not using Docomo and you're not on their network, then you just want to download the generic or the one without a specified carrier, so the one above it. But however, if you are on Docomo, then you'll probably want to download this version of the factory image. So there are just small things to keep in mind when you do choose to download the factory image for your device. Now another example here of September 2018, there were two factory images released here, one for Verizon devices and one for the rest of the world. So once again, if you weren't using Verizon and you're not on the Verizon network, then you just want to download the standard factory image. But if you are using Verizon or are on Verizon, then you want to download the one that is made for Verizon. Hopefully that makes sense. So just download the one that is right for you under the latest category. Then just click on the blue download link for the factory image that you want to download, and just save it in the same location as where you've saved everything else. You can also check out the Pixel Update Bulletin, which tells you all the functional patches and as well as security patches that were issued in this month's security update. Currently, there were no security patches, and there should be some functional patches, but they haven't been listed up just yet, so you can come back and check on this later. And the next thing you want to download is the latest TWRP image and TWRP installer for your device. Now please note that installing TWRP through flashing the TWRP installer is optional. You don't have to do it, but in this case I'll be showing you how to do that as well, and some of the cautions that you might need to look at when using TWRP. So here in the devices section, you'll want to search for your device. So in this case is the Pixel 3, and you can see if I search Pixel, all of them come up. So you can select the device that is right for you. I'm going to click on blue line in this case, and your device page will look very close, very similar to this. Now if you read under the status header, you can see that MTP does not work at this time, but you can use ADB to transfer files. Now if I bring up the Pixel 3 XL TWRP page, just as another example, you can see that here MTP does not work at this time, and for the Pixel 3 XL exclusively at this point, ADB only works on the flashed version of TWRP. So when you first initially load up the TWRP image, ADB won't work, and you will need to use a USB OTG cable or that little dongle that is actually included in your Pixel box. You can use that to transfer USB files and use TWRP to flash files off of your USB as well. So that is also something to watch out for. So it's always good to read whatever is under the status. Now back to the Pixel 3, which is my device. Down here under download links, you'll be presented with two options, one for the Americas and one for Europe. So just click on the link that is closer to you physically. I'll be choosing the Americas for this one. And you can see for Blue Line or the Pixel 3, there is only one version of TWRP available. Other devices will have many other versions of TWRP, but it's always very important, since we're on the latest security update, you'll also want to download the latest version of TWRP to kind of go hand in hand with that. So you can see there are two files here, one for installing TWRP to our device, and one for booting the TWRP recovery on our device. You can see the version numbers in the middle, so this one is 3.2.3-0, and this one is also 3.2.3-0. So these files are together in a sense. So I'll be downloading both of these images, so when you click on one of them, you'll be greeted with this page. And I know this is confusing for some people because there are a lot of links and some of them are bigger than others in terms of font size. So when it says MD5 for TWRP blah 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 image, it means a hash sum where you can compare the values of that MD5 and the MD5 of that file. So it's good for checking that you don't have a corrupted download. But what you want to download is this one, just the image file, not the image file ending in ASC. I believe that is a public key of some sorts that you can use to verify that this is a genuine TWRP image. You just want to download the latest image here, so this central one, and you can also read this where it says please click the link below to start your download, so there shouldn't be any confusion about this. So click on this link and that will download the TWRP image for you as well. So once you have downloaded the image and TWRP installer, so if I just go back here, it's the same thing for the installer. You click on it and you click on the zip file down here, this link underneath this text. And you can save it in the same directory as where everything else is, just to keep it nice and neat. And the last thing that people would usually want to download is the latest version of Magisk, so our root management and module manager that we all know and love. So scroll down here, you can also see the latest versions of Magisk and the beta channels and the Magisk Manager version. Now to download Magisk, all you need to do is scroll down to the download section and click on either the latest stable or beta version with what I said previously kept in mind, and you can download those two. And you might also want to download the latest Magisk uninstaller just in case you need that as well. So when you click on, say, the beta, and that should just download the latest release, and you can save it to where we were saving everything else. And you can do the same for the other files here, so the uninstaller as well, you might need that. And once you have everything downloaded, we can head on to the updating process. Once you have everything downloaded, you'll have at least these 4 or 5 files, depending on whether you have set up the platform tools before. You won't need to download it again, but you just need to make sure that it's up to date. So the first thing we want to do is open up the platform tools zip file, and this is for those who haven't set up the platform tools on Windows just yet. You want to extract the entire platform tools folder into just wherever you find convenient. And you can close that, and when you go inside, you'll see a lot of different files here, and that is okay. The next thing you want to open up is the factory image. So that's our largest file by far. And you want to open up the folder inside the factory image and just extract the image zip file, the bootloader image, and the radio image. Extract those three outside like that. And once you have extracted, we can close the factory image like that. And we end up with a whole host of files here. So the next thing we want to do is actually copy over the TWRP installer. Again, this is optional. And of course, the latest version of Magisk over to our phone. Now to do that, just show you real quick, you need to connect your phone via the USB cable down below to your computer. Drag down the notification shade and tap on Android system charging this device via USB right at the bottom. Tap on that and that'll expand, and tap on the notification again. And then tap on use USB for file transfer at the top here. You should see your phone get connected to your computer under this, or you can just head over to this PC and you should see your phone connected under devices and drives. So open that up and then open up the internal shared storage and wait for it to load all the folders in there, and copy over the latest version of Magisk and the TWRP installer over to the root of storage. You can see it, a tooltip underneath my mouse cursor there. And I'm just going to copy and replace anything there. And I'm going to get rid of some older files that I won't be using. So here we have the TWRP installer, and next to it, the Magisk version 18.1, the latest version of Magisk. Once you have copied those files over to your phone, we are now ready to reboot our phone into the bootloader. And to do that, we can hold the power button here while the phone is connected and tap on restart. And when the screen turns black or it freezes, hold the volume down button, and that will get our phone into the bootloader. So I'm going to start holding it now, even though that it is still connected, and just keep holding it until you get into the bootloader screen. It should be very soon, and there it is. It doesn't matter what this says because that is just a menu selector. I've had people question about, oh, I can't find download mode there, what should I do? We don't use download mode, we use fastboot mode as stated here. So whatever option you see there, it doesn't really matter because that's only a selection to go into that option if we want to. So don't worry about that. And once your phone is in the bootloader, your drivers should already be set up, hopefully. Windows Update can automatically download and install the Lee mobile device drivers, and I can just quickly show you that in the device manager. You can see my device is logged under Lee mobile Android device and under the Android bootloader interface, which is fine by me. So the next thing you want to do is open up the platform tools folder, and this is where you want to open up the command prompt window into this same directory here where all of our files are. It's very important. Now you have to do this if you haven't set up the platform tools path into your path environment variable. And to open up a command prompt in the same directory, you can either hold shift and right click in an empty space with nothing highlighted, and you should get an option to open up the PowerShell window here on Windows 8 and above, I believe. But another way of opening up a command prompt window, or even PowerShell window, but this is more convenient for those wanting to use the command prompt, you can type in CMD in the address bar, and that'll open up a command prompt window that has its directories already changed to the platform tools folder, which is very handy. You can use that, but I'll be using my console emulator. So just have these side by side like so. And the first thing we want to do is type in fastboot devices. And you can see my phone is connected here in fastboot, and that shows the serial number. Once you've verified that it has been connected, you can go back one folder, back into where everything else is. So that's your bootloader image, the image zip file, and the radio images. Once you've got everything ready, so we're going to type the command to update our bootloader, and that flashes the new bootloader image to the bootloader partition. And we can do that by typing in fastboot flash bootloader. Leave a space after the word bootloader and drag in the bootloader image onto the command prompt window and hit enter. Now for PowerShell users, it is a little different, and I'll just show you really quickly, just in case there are some of you who are using the PowerShell. Now to use programs inside the platform tools folder, if I type in ls to list all the files here, it may be a way where you can see it. You can see that I have these files in my folder, but if I just type in fastboot, it'll actually look for the system's definition of fastboot. So I have this added to my path environment variable, that's why it can run, but if I choose fastboot version, which shows me where it is located, you can see it's not in the same directory as where I have these platform tools, right? So to run a program that is located inside of the platform tools folder in PowerShell, you can start typing in the name of the executable. So in this case, fastboot. So I can type in FAS. I'll zoom that in a little bit more. And if you press tab twice, that'll choose the most appropriate file that starts with FAS. And we know there should be only at least one file there starting with FAS. And if you press double tab, that'll automatically populate the executable in there. So you can run fastboot.exe and then you can do devices like so. And that'll return the connected devices there. So if you ever run into a problem where I'm typing in fastboot into the PowerShell window and it's saying, you know, the applet is not there, the program is not found, that is the problem. So you need to add in a // or you can just type in FAS and double tab to get the executable to be filled in. So I'm going to go back to my command prompt window. So once you've flashed the bootloader image, you can now go ahead and reboot your phone back into the bootloader. To do that, you can either type in a fastboot command, I'll show you next time, but you can also go to your phone here and use the volume keys to change the mode here to restart bootloader, and then press the power button to select it, and your phone will reboot itself back into the bootloader. Now once it has done that, we can now go ahead and update the radio image. So I'm going to go back to where our files are and type in fastboot flash radio, leave a space after the word radio and drag in the radio image and hit enter. And you can see that is done as well. And we're going to reboot our phone into the bootloader once more. So we can type in fastboot reboot bootloader and hit enter. And this will reboot our phone back into the bootloader. And once we have done that, we can now issue the update command for our image file here, the one that we extracted outside from our factory image. So to do that, we're going to type in fastboot /, so 2 hyphens, type in the word skip dash reboot, and then type in the word update, and leave a space after update, and drag in the image file, and press enter, and that'll check the version of your bootloader and baseband, so that's the radio, and that'll also extract all the images inside the image zip here, and then flash them one by one to the appropriate partitions. And you can see this extra flag that we added here, skip reboot. This will prevent our phone from automatically rebooting after the flashing has been completed. So then we can go into TWRP and reroute our phone without having to wait for our phone to turn on and then to turn it back off again. And mine is almost done here with the vendor image. You can see that, yes, just took roughly under a minute, which is fantastic. On that, we can now boot into TWRP. This is where the rerouting process comes in. So we're going to type in fastboot boot, and you can leave a space after the word boot and drag in the TWRP image file. Now please note there is no flash in there anywhere. You just want to boot the image temporarily, and you hit enter, and that will download the boot image to your device, and your phone should boot it into it after a couple seconds there. And the rest of the process should be quite simple. And I'll say again, there are more things to watch out for in TWRP. There may be times where you'll be greeted with this screen. This is quite normal for those who have a screen lock and have their data partition encrypted. There are sometimes TWRP won't be able to decrypt your data due to changes in Android security. So for example, if this was my correct pattern and it just kept on saying pattern failed, please try again, then that means TWRP needs to be updated for you to access your data partition. Now there is a way to kind of get around this. You can use ADB sideload to allow Magisk to update the boot image for you without having to kind of access your data partition. And I can show you that in another video maybe. But usually for a long time now, TWRP has been able to decrypt our data partition without any issues. So we'll just stick with that. And there also may be some times where the touchscreen won't work when you boot into TWRP. You might just need to restart your phone into the recovery again or boot up the TWRP image. And sometimes this has worked for me, or most of the time. A custom kernel may be required to kind of temporarily fix that. So depending on what the issue is, you may need to have some creative workarounds for that. So right now I'm just going to enter my pattern correctly, and that should be able to decrypt my data partition. And if I just let that go for a little bit, it should do that just fine. And you might also get a notification or a prompt for you to keep the system as read-only. I'll show a picture of it right now. I recommend that you keep it read-only, but anyways, we're here to install TWRP and Magisk. So the first thing is, if you want to install TWRP, you must do that first. So I'm going to do that first right now. Swipe to flash the TWRP installer that we copied over earlier. Now, if you don't want to flash TWRP, you don't have to as well. You can skip that and simply flash Magisk right away. But for the sake of this tutorial, I'll be flashing TWRP, and this will flash it to both slots, so you can use it whether you're on A or B. And once that is done, we can go back again, tap on reboot, and then tap on reboot recovery just to verify that the version of TWRP that we just installed works just as well as the booted one. So give this a second to restart itself into the recovery mode and hopefully into TWRP. Okay, there we go. So that's looking good so far. And the touchscreen works, and data decryption should work as well. And there we go. So now we can install Magisk. So tap on install, locate Magisk, and swipe to confirm the flash. And that will install Magisk onto your phone again, rooting it in the process. And this will also keep any modules that you have. And once you've done that, you can tap on reboot system and wait for our system to turn on. So here our phone's booted up really quickly, and everything is still intact, nothing has changed. And you can see that it is finishing the system update. And if we head over into, say, Magisk Manager, we should see that Magisk is up to date, and also Magisk Manager is up to date. And we can check the safety net here just to see whether we're passing or not, which is, I guess, a major point or selling point of Magisk Manager. And there we go. You might also have some modules here. Nope, I didn't have any installed previously, but that's fine. So there we go. That's how you update your rooted Pixel device to the latest version using the factory images here. So if you have any other questions, feel free to leave it down in the comments below, but I really would like for you to join us on Discord instead. It's just much easier to talk to you that way and not having to rely on YouTube's dodgy commenting system. So if you have any other questions, feel free to leave it either in the comments below or join us on Discord. And as always, happy flashing.